Hello, fantastic fourth grade mathematicians. Our learning target for today is I can identify, tell the difference between, and name points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. Part of what you're going to see today comes from IXL.com Math, 4th grade, W4, points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. And we encourage you to also get extra practice there. So if you do not remember your login, please contact your teacher and we will be so very happy to provide it to you. First, let's talk about what a point is. A point shows location. It doesn't have a size, but the only thing it does is shows location. So if I put a point somewhere on this whiteboard, it's going to show the location of where I put the point. So there you can see that point shows that the location is there. If I draw another point on the whiteboard, anywhere, like there, I can draw a line through those 2 points, like that. And what makes that orange line a line, so the reason we call it a line, is that if you notice the arrow on either side, it means that the line keeps on going forever and ever in the direction of the arrow. So this line would keep going in this direction forever and ever, and it would also keep going in this direction forever and ever. And that's what makes it a line, the fact that it keeps going in both directions forever and ever, as indicated by the arrows on the end of the line. And like we already discussed, we drew that line between 2 points. And you can see I've given what we call a name to each of those points. There's point C and point F. They didn't have to be named C, and point F. They could have been named point A and point B, or point Y and point Z. And the point I'm trying to make here is that it really doesn't matter what they're named. So I'll name them point A and point B. And what you should understand is that points often have a name. So here we have a line, and like I said, we know it's a line because it has arrows showing that it keeps going in both directions forever and ever and ever. So now let's figure out what a ray is, that word ray. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this line into a ray, so that you can understand the difference between a line and a ray. So unlike a line, a ray only goes in one direction forever and ever. So if we start at point A and go to point B and keep going, this ray goes in that one direction forever and ever and ever. But if we go in the other direction, it stops at a point. It stops at point A. So that's what a ray is. On one end, it stops at a point, here, the point that we named A. And on the other end, it goes forever and ever in one direction. To contrast that with a line, again, a line goes in both directions forever and ever and ever. But this is not a line, it's a ray. So it just goes in one direction forever and ever and ever. And in the other direction, it ends at a point here, point A. So now we know the difference between a line and a ray, and this is a ray. But what's the difference between a line ray and a line segment? Well, while a line goes in both directions forever and ever, and a ray goes in one direction forever and ever, and ends at a point on the other side, a line segment, which means part of a line, ends on both sides with a point. And here it ends at point A on the one side and at point B on the other side. And it could also be measured because it doesn't go forever and ever. So we could just take a ruler out and measure that if we wanted to. So that's a line segment. On both sides it ends at a point, and it doesn't go either way forever. It stops each way. It stops there at point A and stops there at point B. That's a line segment. So here I'm going to draw 2 points, and I'm going to give them a name. And remember, they show location. They show where something is. And I'm going to name them point X and point Z. And I could draw a line through them. So notice that the line has arrows on either side, so it keeps going in both directions forever and ever. Even with that line drawn, I still could talk about the line segment XZ, or in other words, the segment or part of the line that starts at point X and ends at part Z. And I can also turn my line into a ray by showing that it starts at point X and ends at point X. But then if you go from point X to point Z, it keeps going in that direction forever and ever. So what's an angle? An angle is when you draw 2 rays both starting at the same point. So notice I'm going to draw a second ray starting at point X. So now we have 2 rays starting at point X. And those 2 rays, in between those 2 rays is an angle, which is often shown by that kind of part circle or that curved line between the 2 rays. But even if we don't draw that curved line there, there's still an angle between the ray that starts at point X and passes through point Z and the ray that starts at point X and passes through point Y up at the top. And we don't even have to show points Y or point Z to notice that there are 2 rays starting at point X and that there's an angle that's made by both rays together. And what an angle basically is the amount of turn from one ray to the next ray. So if you watch the pen here, the angle here is the amount of turn from this ray until we get to that ray. And that's what makes an angle. We're going to save it for another lesson. What makes an angle an acute angle, a right angle, or an obtuse angle? But again, what you should understand from this lesson is that an angle is made up of 2 rays that share the same point. That a ray starts at a point and then goes forever in the direction where the arrow is, but if we go back in the other direction, it stops. That a line goes forever in both directions, and that a line segment is the part of a line between 2 points, here between points C and point D. That's a line segment or part of a line. Sorry for how it's blurry. So now that you know the difference between a line segment, which is just part of a line between 2 points that doesn't keep going forever and ever in either direction, array, which has a point on one side, so it doesn't keep going on that direction here on the left side, but it does go forever and ever in the other direction. And a line, which keeps going forever and ever in both directions. So we know the difference between a line segment, array, and a line. So having learned all that, I want you to first notice that we're on IXL 4th grade W4, points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. And go ahead and take a look at this problem. It says, what is this? And I see point D, and I see 2 rays coming from point D. So pause the video and choose whether this is a line segment, an angle, a line, or a ray. Go ahead and pause it and decide. And think about how you know. So I chose that this is an angle. I know it's not a line segment because I don't see 2 points and part of a line between those 2 points. I know it's not a line because even though these, I'm not going to say what they are again, keep going in one direction from point D, they keep going in one direction forever, they both end at point D in the other direction. So it can't be a line because a line goes in both directions forever and ever. And I wonder if anyone thought that it was a ray. Well, here there are 2 rays, so it's not a ray or 1 ray, and those 2 rays make up an angle. Now take a look at this problem. It asks, what is this? And take a look at what's there, and the choices are a line segment, a line, a ray, or a point. Pause the video, consider each choice, and make your selection, and then come back after you've done that. So let's consider every choice from left to right. The first choice is a line segment, and I see 2 points, points R and S, and between them I see part of a line. And that's the actual definition of a line segment. So that's the correct choice. But let's consider the other choices just to make sure. The next choice is a line, and this is not a line because it doesn't go in both directions forever and ever. There's no arrows after to the left of point R or to the right of point S, showing that it keeps going in both directions forever and ever. And it's not a ray because it doesn't start at one of the points and then go in the other direction forever and ever. And although we do have 2 points here, point R and point S, and the line segment between them, the answer is not that this is a point. If it were, we would just see maybe that point R or another point with another name and nothing else. And here we have 2 points and a line segment in between. So again, this is a line segment. Now look at this problem very closely, and we call all of these things, whether it would be an angle, a ray, a point, a line, we call them figures. So what is this figure? Look at it really closely, pause the video, and make your choice. Okay, welcome back. So what I see here is I see point A, and going in the direction from point A to point B, after that I see an arrow, which means that this figure starts at point A and then goes in that direction forever and ever. So it's a ray. It's not an angle. If it were, there would be two rays starting at point A, and we'd be measuring the amount of turn or the angle between the two rays. It's not a point. There are 2 points here, but it's not a point. And it's not a line because it doesn't go in both directions forever and ever. If we go from point B towards point A, it stops at point A on the one side, and then just goes forever and ever in the other direction. So again, this is a ray. So now look at this problem. Look at what they give you, and then pause the video and figure out, is that a point, a line, an angle, or a ray? Okay. You should have selected that it's a point. It's a point. The name of the point is point M. It's not a line, right? There's nothing going in any direction forever and ever. It's not an angle because that would be two rays. If we had two rays starting at point M, that could be an angle. And it's not a ray because we don't have something starting at point M and going in the other direction forever and ever. So again, this is a point, and the name of the point is point M. Let's try this one. Look at the problem. It asks if it's a ray, a point, a line segment, or an angle. Pause the video and make your choice. Okay, welcome back. So what I notice about this is that if we start at point V and we go towards point W, there's a ray that goes forever and ever from starting at point V, going towards and then past point W. There's also a ray that goes forever and ever starting at point V and going past point U forever and ever. Remember, those arrows show that those go forever and ever. And I don't know if I just called it a line, but it's actually not a line. It's a ray going forever and ever. So there's two rays here, both starting at point V. They share point V. And so the amount of turn before the ray starting at point V going past point W and the ray starting at point V and going past point U is an angle. So you should have selected that this, or chosen that this is an angle. Two rays starting at the same point. Now look closely at this. I want to know what that is. And so think about it. Is it a point, a line, an angle, or a ray? Pause the video and make your choice. Okay, welcome back. So it's not a point. We do have 2 points there, but we can see there's a lot more than that. Is it a line? Well, I noticed that if we go from point J to point K and we keep going, there's an arrow that shows it goes in that direction forever and ever. And if we start at point K, go past point J, there's an arrow showing it goes in the other direction for an ever and ever. And so when we have something like this, a figure that goes in both directions forever and ever, and it's straight like this, it's a line. It's not an angle because we don't have two rays starting at the same point. And it's not a ray because it doesn't start at one point and go in only one direction forever and ever. So this is a line. So now that we're able to tell the difference between a point, a ray, a line segment, and an angle, I can look at this figure. This figure I can see as a line, and I see that it has points C and point D on it, so point C and point D. And so I can name it line CD if I read it from left to right. So the name of this figure is line CD, and we can show that by drawing a little teeny line above it and writing CD. So that says line CD. If you had asked me the name of that point, we would have said that it's point C. And if you asked me the name of that point, we would have said it's point D. Now, if this had just been a line segment, starting at point C and ending at point D, then we would just name it line segment CD. And instead of having the little line above the CD, we could just write a line segment or part of a line above CD. So this is line segment CD. And notice we know that it's not line CD because the segment above doesn't have arrows on both sides going in each direction forever and ever. So this is line segment CD. Next, if we had a ray starting at point C, going past point D, and then going forever and ever, which the arrow tells us, then we'd name it ray CD. And instead of having a line segment above it, we would draw a ray above it going with an arrow going in one direction forever and ever. And this would be ray CD. That's the name of this ray. Here's a pretty easy one. What's the name of this point? That's right, its name is point F, and to show that you don't actually draw, you write out the word point F. So point F is this point which has the name point F. Now, if we're going to name an angle like this, here you see there's an angle, both rays start at point G. But notice no other points are named on each of the two rays that starts at point G and then keeps going forever and ever. So we would just name this angle G. And that's how you represent the the name angle G. Notice that first part, that's a symbol for an angle, and then here the letter G because this angle starts at point G, so the name of the angle is angle G. So here you see the same angle, but on one ray we've drawn and named point H, and on the other ray we've drawn and named point F. So now we could either call this angle angle G, but the more appropriate way to do it would to either be to call it angle FGH, which would be in alphabetical order, and that's what I'd probably want to call it. But we could also possibly call it angle HGF. But notice that point G, that's always in the middle of the name. And G's in the middle because it's the common point. It's the point that both of those rays share. If we want to get even more technical, that point G, is called the vertex. That word, vertex. But we don't need to know that for this lesson. So again, this angle we call either angle FGH or angle HGF, written like this, angle FGH or angle HGF. So let's try a few together. This is still IXL 4th grade W4 points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles, but now we are naming them. So I noticed that this is a line segment. It starts at point D and ends at point E. What name would we give to it? Would it be that, or that? So think about it for a second. I'm going to go ahead. You should pause the video and then come back once you've made your choice. Okay, welcome back. So this is the only one that shows a line segment. Notice that above DE, there's no arrow on either side of that line segment. So that would show line segment DE. This would show ray DE because it's going in one direction forever and ever, which that arrow shows. This would show line DE, and this would show angle DEF. But this is a line segment DE, so this is the correct answer. Now let's look at this problem. It says, what is the name of the figure? And we have the figure here, this choice, this choice, this choice, or this choice. Go ahead, pause the video. Let me try to get it back in focus. Pause the video and make your choice and then come back. Okay, welcome back. We should have chosen this because that shows angle KLM, and this is an angle. It's both of the rays and the angle begin at a point L, and then notice we can call it angle KLM, angle KLM. Okay, next question. What's the name of this figure? Take a close look at the figure. And is it this choice, this choice, this choice, or this choice? Pause the video, make your choice, and then come back. Okay, welcome back. This is ray AB. And notice since it's starting at point A and going past point B forever and ever, that we would not call this ray BA. We have to say ray AB, which shows that it starts at point A and then goes towards point B and then past point B forever and ever. And here's the choice that shows ray AB. Okay, next, look at the figure. It asks what is the name of the figure. Then look at your choices. Pause the video, make your choice, then come back. I see that this, well, welcome back, sorry. I see that this is a line and it has the points D and E on it. So we'll call it line DE. And the only one that shows line DE is that one because it has a line above it with arrows on each side going forever and ever. So that choice shows line DE. So you may feel like this is starting to get kind of easy. So I'm just going to say that and ask you to pay close attention to the choices. So it says, what is the name of this figure? And look, we have this choice, this choice, this choice, and this choice. So go ahead, pause the video, make your choice, and then come back. And I hope that you all recognized it's a ray, but I hope no one chose the choice ray NP because this is ray NM. That's what it says there. There's point N where it starts and it goes through point M. And the choice that shows ray NM is right there. It's the third choice. That's the one we should have selected. That shows ray NM. So make sure you pay close attention to the letters that are on the line segments, the rays, the points, the angles, whatever we're looking at. And don't choose different letters than the ones that are there. And I don't think you need me to do this one with you, but let's just do it really quick. What's the name of this figure? And I'm not going to even have you pause it. It is point P. Point P. We're going to try 2 more together before I ask you to complete your exit ticket. So look at this figure and then look at the choices. And what I notice in the choices, we have one choice that's ray PO and one choice that's ray OP. And notice this ray starts at point O and goes through point P, so we have to call it ray OP. If we were to click ray PO, because that's not the direction it's going, just notice what would happen, right? Since this is ray OP, but we clicked ray PO, we would get the incorrect answer. So the correct answer is ray OP. And the last one we're going to do together is name this angle. And I noticed that in our choices for the angles, we'll just stick with those 2, we have JLK and JKL. And to do JLK, we'd have to go like this, JLK, and that doesn't work. We actually have to go in order from one side to the other, so it either has to go JKL or LKJ, and since of those 2 choices, the only choice that's there is JKL, then JKL, angle JKL is the correct answer. So again, our learning target for today was I can identify, tell the difference between, and name points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. Your exit ticket's going to be sent as an attachment to the email today, so look for your math exit ticket there. And you can either use the exit ticket that I've attached, or you can just copy down the problems on another piece of paper. And remember that you should get extra practice at IXL.com, math, 4th grade, W4, points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. And if you forgot your login, please let your teacher know so they can help you with that. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.